Greetings, pen pals. I have a pen here today that may or may not be considered a vintage pen, depending on your standards for vintage. This is an Omas Model 360. In particular, it's the 75th anniversary edition. We'll get into that in a moment. But this pen's about 20 years old. It's from the year 2000, so it may or may not meet some people's age criteria for determining a vintage pen. In my mind, a vintage pen basically has to be a pen that's at least a few years old, but more importantly, it's a pen that isn't made anymore, that you can't get a new one of anymore. So, for example, if you may have a 50-year-old Lamy 2000, I wouldn't exactly consider that a vintage pen, even though it's certainly old enough, because you could buy a brand new Lamy 2000 today. This pen's only 20 years old, but you can't buy new ones of this, or you could get new old stock, of course, but they're not making this pen anymore, mainly because the company, Omas, that made it went out of business a few years ago. So we'll get into that in a bit. But so in my mind, at least, I would consider this a vintage pen. So Omas 360 is a pen made by Omas. Omas was an Italian company from Bologna, Italy, that existed between 1925 and 2016. Omas was actually an acronym. It stood for, forgive my Italian pronunciation, which is going to be very bad, but it was Officina Meccanica Armando Simoni. So it was named after Armando Simoni, who was the founder of the company. So it was OMAS was the acronym. They, again, existed from 1925 to 2016. Right about the year 2000, they were celebrating their 75th anniversary, and this is one of a few pens that they put out to commemorate their 75th anniversary. So you can see, and it's actually not that easy to see here. The light has to just catch it. It does say Italy, 75 Omas, 75 years Omas, and symbol of distinction, which was a slogan of theirs. So this, like I said, is the 75th anniversary edition Omas 360 pen. The thing that strikes most people immediately about these Omas 360s is the fact that they are triangular. So it definitely is a three-sided shape, the cap, the barrel, everything. If I open it up and let you get a look at the end of the cap, that really illustrates the overall shape of the pen. Now, when we say it's triangular, strictly speaking, it's not a normal triangle. It is what is called a reload triangle. Now, a reload triangle is an equilateral triangle that has curved sides, and each of the curves is the arc of a circle, the center of which is one of the apexes of the triangle. So imagine three circles, each having a center at a different point on this equilateral triangle, and if you drew those three circles, the arcs of each of those would be the shape of the pen here. So that's what we're seeing here. So it's a triangle, but it's a very specific type of triangle. So let's go through all the basics on this pen. Not a particularly heavy pen. It's a predominantly resin pen, weighs 26 grams. In terms of size, we're not talking about a hugely oversized pen, but it does have a decent amount of size. Here it is compared, let's back the camera up just a tiny bit. Here it is compared to a Lamy Safari and a Pilot Metropolitan, so you can see it's a bit bigger than either of these pens. On the cap band, has a double cap band, one with sort of this Greek style key work and another thin cap band above it. The clip itself is it's a very, very thin clip, but I think it's really aesthetically quite attractive. It's really, really nice, and it is nice and springy and works quite well. There's no finials per se on this. The points of the triangle just converge both on the end of the piston filler knob, and it is a piston filler, and on the end of the cap identically. You do on the end of the piston filling knob, where the barrel ends, just before the piston filling knob begins, there's a little trim ring here. You see the little dot here and there? That's actually a pin that you would need to knock out if you wanted to remove the piston filling knob for servicing. Obviously not something anybody would be doing routinely. You don't need to do that if you absolutely needed to get into the piston filling mechanism of the pen, because that's sort of not a procedure for the faint of heart. It is as you can imagine, given its triangular shape, it doesn't unscrew. It's a pull to uncap cap. The pen is actually, I think, a little short to use unposted. I think it actually kind of looks kind of odd and stubby when it's not posted. It's certainly light enough to use posted, and then it's plenty long and pretty nice looking. The section is quite comfortable. This step down here is really nothing, so to speak, if you don't even feel that at all. Got some nice places to grip it. However, given the fact that it's triangular shaped, you really don't have much of a choice of grip here. You're going to be using this 3-point tripod type grip when you use this pen. If you're not happy with that, do not get an Omas 360. You will not be happy with it. That is how you have to grip it because of the triangular nature of the section. It has the same banding here that it does have on the cap band, which complements it quite nicely and looks really, really great. It has a tiny little rim on the end of the section, nothing much so to speak of. That does mate with an inner cap liner, which is, as you can see clearly in there, and it actually does seal the pen off quite effectively and keeps it from drying out quite nicely. The nib itself is actually a pretty nice nib. It has the Omas 75th anniversary logo. It says Omas, and if you look very carefully towards the very base of the nib, it says 18K 750. There's some Greek scrollwork pattern on the sides of the nib, and if you look very, very carefully, you can see a very small understated M for medium. It is a medium point nib. And this pen actually has a nice ebonite feed, which is I'm very pleased to see. So it has an ebonite feed, and this, as you will see in a minute, writes quite well. This pen came in several different colors. There's definitely different types of 360s. They came in lots of different material, but they're all basically the same shape, this triangular shape, hence the 360 name. So it's, these kind of, I guess I would say, somewhat unusual shaped pens can be a bit polarizing. Some people love them, some people absolutely hate them and can't write with them, etc. So I actually like it quite a bit. I enjoy writing with this pen, and I like it pretty much. These pens are not cheap, given that Omas is gone. They're not making any more. It's obviously a very limited supply. They do go for about the $500 and up range, so they're not an inexpensive find in the marketplace. But again, they are really nice, and some of them are in some of the more limited editions. In some of the more harder to find finishes and materials go for quite a bit more. So that's about all the different parts of the pen. Like I did say, it is a piston filler. You just turn this knob here, and it piston fills, and nothing much more to it than that. It fills quite nicely. Ink capacity is about average for a pen this size. Nothing spectacular. I mean, nothing spectacular or anything to complain about in terms of ink capacity. That's about it for the different parts, etc. of this Omas 360. Let's take a look at how it writes right now. Okay, so like we said, what we're writing with here is an Omas, and I'm writing this in all caps because Omas is an acronym. Model 360, and this is the 75th anniversary edition. And this has an 18 karat nib in medium. It's a little bit fine for European medium, but I'm okay with it. If you had like a Mont Blanc in medium, it would obviously be quite a bit broader than this. But it's I'm okay with calling this a medium. It actually writes very smoothly, really nicely. I'd say it's definitely on the wetter side, which I'm very, very happy with. And it writes really quite well. Really nice. And it's a shame Omas is gone, because they definitely made some very, very nice pens. I understand the brand name was bought by some other firm who's going to start, or either has or is going to be introducing pens under the Omas name, but any pen after 2016 that's branded Omas is not going to be from the same company. Now, there are some former Omas executives that went out and started other companies. So there's like, you may have heard of Mondo Simone Club and a few other companies like that. They are making some very high-end pens, and those are former Omas people that are involved with that. But that's, again, a whole different enterprise altogether. So the original Omas company, like I said, was between 1925 and 2016. So that's about all I have to say about this pen. Really, really nice writer, nice looking pen. Not for everybody because of the this triangular shape, both from the aesthetics of just having a triangular pen to begin with, might not appeal to a lot of people, and this 3-point grip that it enforces, again, is definitely can be polarizing. So if it's the kind of thing you think you might like, you probably will like this pen. Okay, that's about all we want to say about this pen right now. Let's talk about this ink now for a minute, shall we? It's always a bit of a challenge finding an ink to complement a yellow pen, but let's give this a shot. This is an amber colored ink, so this is from J. Herbin. And the ink is called, I'm going to again butcher the French pronunciation here, but Ambre de Birmanie. It's definitely a pretty, sort of yellowy amber color, yellowish brown, honey colored maybe, amber colored for sure. Ink, very nice. Definitely an attractive ink. And again, sort of a true yellow to match this pen would be, I mean, they do make them, but the use of it is very, very limited because they're so light sometimes. So, it doesn't make a very practical writing ink. So this is sort of definitely a trade-off. You want like an ink that'll complement a pen's color well when you have a yellow. A yellow is always very, very challenging. I have very, very few yellow pens. This is probably my highest end yellow pen that I have, and finding a nice ink to sort of complement the yellow always is a challenge. This one in particular, I only have in one of these little J. Herbin bottles. So this is I believe, what is this, 10 milliliter? I think it is. Let me look. Yes, 10 milliliter bottle, which poses its own challenge because this pen does not fit in this bottle. So what to do? So again, this thing is a very handy thing to have. This is called an Ink Miser inkwell. So what you do is you using an eyedropper, you put the ink in here, you dip your pen in the inkwell, fill it up, and then pour the remaining back. So it is an extra step, and you have extra things to clean. You have to now clean off an eyedropper and clean off this inkwell. Or you can actually try pouring it in here. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would actually use the eyedropper just in case. But in any case, it does work. And it's not like this pen is so big. It does have a fairly big section, and it's an odd shape, I'll give you that. But the neck of these bottles are really, really tiny. Tinier than actually most sample vials, in fact. So it's not surprising there's a lot of pens that wouldn't fit this bottle. So the Ink Miser inkwell definitely comes in handy for that purpose. So that's what this ink looks like on this Rhodia paper. Let's take a quick look at what it looks like on Tomoe River paper. Okay, so once again, this ink is J. Herbin Ambre de Birmanie. And it looks, like I said, it looks pretty nice. It definitely, on this Tomoe River paper, you're definitely getting some shading and color variation. So I think it actually looks quite a bit better on this Tomoe River paper. Certainly more interesting, at least, than on the normal Rhodia paper. But it looked pretty good on the Rhodia paper as well. You got a little bit of color variation there. Not bad. But definitely, I think it looks nicer, like most inks, frankly, on this Tomoe River paper. Well, I think that'll just about do it for this episode. I certainly hope you enjoyed watching it. I know I sure enjoyed making it. And as always, please leave us a comment or two. If you're not a subscriber, please consider becoming one. Keep those thumbs up coming. And until we see each other again, have a great day. Bye-bye.